we all see joy, right? I mean, it feels fundamental, doesn't it? It's just part of being human.
Absolutely. It drives so much of what we do.
We chase it, we really yearn for it, and we definitely celebrate when it shows up. But we often think of it as just an emotion, something fleeting.
A temporary high, maybe?
Exactly.
Hmm.
A good feeling that comes and goes.
Hmm.
But what if? What if joy wasn't just that? What if it was something much, much deeper?
More foundational.
Yeah, like a core state of being, a kind of deeper reality woven into everything. Something that could actually reshape how we see ourselves, how we see the world.
That's a big idea.
It is. And that's what we're doing today. We're embarking on this really extraordinary deep dive into some incredibly profound concepts, ideas that really challenge our usual thinking about happiness, about reality itself.
Sounds fascinating.
We're going to explore this radical idea, joy beyond just emotion. And our guide is the words of a modern poet, Oscar Muñoz, and his own really illuminating commentary on his work.
So we have the poem and the explanation.
Exactly. We're focusing on Poema 3 de Alborada and the rich sort of philosophical insights the author himself provides in his commentary.
Yeah.
So this isn't just us analyzing literature.
No, it sounds like more than that.
It's an invitation, really, for you, for us, to maybe perceive the world and maybe even your own inner experience through a completely new lens.
Right. And the source material, it's not just pretty verses, is it? You said it's more like a roadmap.
That's how you put it, yeah.
We've got the poetic lines from Poema 3, which are, beautiful and evocative on their own, but then we have Muñoz's in-depth commentary alongside it. And that commentary really acts as our guide, doesn't it? Unpacking the deeper meaning.
Like decoding it.
Yeah, decoding is a good word. Think of the poem as this intricate tapestry, maybe, and the commentary is like someone carefully unraveling the threads for us, showing the pattern, the intention behind each word, each image. So yeah, this deep dive, it's an exploration into human consciousness, definitely, into maybe higher states of being, and the very essence of what he calls bliss. It takes us way beyond just, standard literary interpretation.
Okay, so our mission today, it's to unpack these really powerful ideas, to move beyond our conventional understandings of emotion, maybe even reality.
Stepping outside the usual boxes.
Right. We want to discover what it truly means to experience what the poem calls a bliss that emotion cannot sustain. That line just grabs you, doesn't it?
It really does. What could that possibly mean?
And how this superior ontological state, that's the term you use, right? Like a fundamental mode of being.
Yeah, a state of being, not just feeling.
How that can utterly transform how we see things like peace and conflict, even our own sense of self, our ego.
Big stuff.
Huge.
Yeah.
We'll delve into this vivid metaphor of a solar flame, something that seems to burn away sadness, but maybe not through force, like through a different kind of awareness. And we'll encounter this idea of a matchless consciousness that exists way beyond our everyday mind. So get ready. There should be some deeply thought-provoking insights here, moments that will likely challenge and hopefully really expand your perspective on what joy truly is.
Sounds like a journey. Let's dive in.
Redefining joy, the limits of emotion, and the unveiling of Ananda.
Okay, so the journey kicks off immediately, like right in the first lines of the poem, with a statement that really just stops you in your tracks.
What does it say?
There is a bliss that emotion cannot sustain. Overabundant, it escapes towards a heaven of purity.
Wow.
Right. It immediately makes you pause and think, what kind of joy are we even talking about here? Something described as too much for emotion to handle.
Something that escapes our grasp.
Yeah. It almost implies our emotional capacity is, limited somehow, like a container that's too small.
Well, that opening is absolutely crucial. And Muñoz's commentary, it jumps right in. It posits the, quote, insufficiency of conventional emotional experience to capture what he calls this higher form of bliss.
So straight away, it's saying our usual feelings aren't enough.
Exactly. We're not just discussing happiness, the feeling you get when you get a promotion, or pleasure like eating good food. The commentary really pushes us to think about human life beyond our basic, almost instinctual emotions.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about things like ardent seeking, that drive to achieve or find something, desire, fear, anger, even the really primal stuff like caring for our kids, or that feeling of belonging to a group, or even just the simple joy of play.
Those are pretty fundamental drivers for us.
They are. They're deeply ingrained in our biology, our psychology.
Okay.
But the text forces us to ask, Is there actually a realm of experience that goes beyond these? Can we even conceptualize something that exists outside the emotional framework that defines so much of our waking life?
It's hard to imagine.
It is. And this isn't about feeling more intensely happy or just, happier in the usual sense. It's a deeper question. Is there a form of existence, a whole different state of being that completely transcends our everyday ups and downs?
Okay.
And what's really fascinating here, what really makes you think, is this societal question the commentary raises. It asks basically, can we deal with someone who isn't guided by these basic movements of the psyche without crucifying them?
Whoa. That's strong.
It is. It points to this potential societal blind spot. Our collective difficulty, maybe, in accepting or integrating people whose experiences, whose way of being, just deviates from our emotionally driven norms.
Because we don't understand them.
Maybe. Think about it. If someone isn't motivated by fear or greed or even the typical forms of love or attachment we expect, how do we relate to them? Our society, our laws, our social rules, they're often built on assuming those basic emotional drivers are universal.
Right. We expect people to react in certain ways.
And when someone operates outside that, maybe our first reaction is misunderstanding or fear or even pushing them away because they just don't fit into our neat emotional boxes. It hints at a very different way human beings could potentially interact.
Okay, so if our conventional emotion, even with all its intensity and complexity, can't sustain this overabundant bliss, what is it then? What's its nature? Why is it beyond our usual grasp?
So the commentary introduces this concept, ananda. It's described as joy bliss.
Ananda.
And it's vital to get this. Ananda isn't presented as just another emotion like happiness or excitement that comes and goes. No, it's characterized as a superior ontological state.
Ontological state of being, right?
Exactly. A fundamental state of being itself. Think of it maybe like this. Our common emotions are like the ripples on the surface of a pond. They're always changing, appearing, disappearing, reacting to the wind, a thrown stone.
Okay, I can picture that.
Ananda, though, is like the deep, still water beneath the ripples. It's the very essence of the pond itself. Stable, unchanging. So, emotion, as we typically experience it, cannot harbor or contain nor understand or accompany this. Ananda. Why?
Yeah.
Because it operates on a completely different level, a deeper level than our usual emotional spectrum. It's not just a difference in degree, like more happiness. It's a difference in kind.
A different category altogether.
Precisely. And to illustrate this, the commentary points out something interesting about our physical limits. It says there's a limit of physical ecstasy that we can tolerate.
Like too much intense pleasure can be overwhelming.
Exactly. Beyond a certain point, our conventional egoic consciousness identity vanishes. Think about extreme thrills, maybe intense physical experiences. There's a point where the sheer intensity can overwhelm your ordinary sense of self. You kind of lose track of you for a moment.
Right, you just become the experience.
Yeah. So that suggests a natural boundary tied to our body, our brain chemistry, for how much our ordinary self can handle. But then the commentary points to this powerful, almost paradoxical potential, a subtle, new, and emergent symbolic bliss.
Yeah.
Something that rises beyond that physical, affective plane of neurotransmitters.
Beyond the chemicals in our brain.
Yes. It ascends towards what the poem calls a heaven of purity. This implies a spiritual, maybe a transcendental dimension to this joy. One that isn't dependent on biochemical reactions or the limits of our physical body. It's a bliss from a deeper source, untouched by the body or mind's fluctuations.
Okay, now the commentary uses this word escape to describe this elevation. It says it feels like an escape from the basic emotions we're trapped in. Trapped is a strong word. Why frame it like that? Are we really prisoners of our feelings?
Well, that's a crucial insight into how the ego works, according to this commentary. From the perspective of our basic emotions, which the ego often strongly identifies with, right? Because those emotions help it navigate the world, survive.
Sure, fear keeps us safe, desire makes us act.
Exactly. From that perspective, this higher state of bliss feels like an escape. Why? Because it fundamentally threatens the ego's established reality, its familiar territory of control, definition, knowing how things work.
It doesn't fit the ego's map.
Precisely. And we often, the commentary suggests, justify our emotional chains. We put masks on them, call them things like fidelity to life or commitment to human existence.
How so?
Well, think about it. We might rationalize staying in difficult situations, maybe even unhealthy relationships or jobs, telling ourselves it's noble or we're being true to someone or it's the right thing to do. We might even frame the effort to stay in the mire of confrontation and density, as the commentary puts it, as helping others or doing good.
When really, maybe it's just familiar pain.
It could be the ego clinging to its known patterns, yeah,
Yeah.
however painful they might be. So it's this ego-driven attitude that talks about escapes to justify its own self-imposed limits, its attachments to its chains, its comfort zone, even if it's not that comfortable.
So the ego calls it escape to
Right.
discredit it.
That seems to be the idea. By labeling it an escape, the ego pays no attention to the overabundance of the movement that rises towards a heaven of purity. This richness, this ananda, when it spontaneously emerges, it actually deeply wounds the ego, the commentary says,
Wounds it. How?
by the mere fact of showing it the existence of something else, something
Yeah.
totally different, of another form of joy that is completely alien to it.
So the ego feels threatened just by the possibility of this other state.
Exactly. It highlights the ego's almost visceral, protective, even fearful reaction to anything that transcends its familiar dualistic world. Anything suggesting a reality where its rules don't apply, its control is irrelevant. It's like a small pond encountering the vast ocean. The first instinct might be to declare the ocean too big or dangerous, just to preserve its own limited identity.
So the key takeaway here is Ananda isn't just a better feeling, it's a whole different way of being that our usual emotional self, our ego, finds difficult, maybe even threatening to comprehend.
That's a good summary, yeah. It's a fundamental shift.
Okay, now, the poem immediately follows this up with another really intriguing line. Passionate splendor that dwells indifferent, the temple of peace and the battlefield. Indifferent to peace and battle. That sounds incredibly detached, almost cold. How can something described as passionate splendor be indifferent to things like war and peace, things that are so crucial, often life and death for us? It feels wrong somehow.
It's definitely challenging to our usual way of thinking, our moral compass even.
Yeah.
It sounds cold. But the commentary clarifies this isn't indifference as in apathy, like just not caring.
Okay, so what is it?
This passionate splendor is presented as a non-dual force. It embraces both peace and battle without being polarized toward either, without accepting or rejecting any.
So it holds both without choosing.
Yes, its indifference comes from profound detachment. And that's the crucial distinction. It's active non-alignment, not passive disengagement. Think about maybe a skilled surgeon during a complex operation. They're utterly focused, right? Intensely engaged. But they operate with a detached precision. Their goal is healing, but they can't get emotionally entangled in the patient's immediate pain or fear. Their focus is on the bigger picture, the outcome, not the immediate dualistic experience of good or bad sensations.
So detachment allows for effective action in a way.
In this context, it allows for a perspective that sees beyond the immediate conflict. And what's fascinating is the commentary explicitly says, the echoes of the Bhagavad Gita resonate here.
Ah, the ancient Indian scripture.
Exactly. The Gita, as you know, is this dialogue that happens right on a battlefield, Kurukshetra. And in the context of Dharma, of eternal truth, that battlefield is understood as both the place of conflict and the temple of peace. It's where spiritual truth emerges amidst the chaos.
The opposites coexist there.
Right. And the commentary mentions Trikala thought, this idea of seeing time differently, maybe, like seeing past, present, future all at once. From that perspective, peace and battle are already seen as a single symbol.
Like two sides of one coin.
Exactly. It instantly connects the poem to these ancient wisdom traditions that emphasize the unity behind apparent opposites. It suggests these aren't just modern poetic ideas, but maybe deep truths that resonate across cultures and time. Even in the heart of conflict, there's a potential for peace. And even in peace, the seeds of future conflict might lie dormant. There's an underlying unity.
Okay, so how does this relate to our cycles of war and peace?
Well, the commentary argues pretty strongly that it's precisely our dual distinction of everyday life, our insistence on separating everything into good and bad, us and them, peace and war, that perpetuates these cycles.
Our black and white thinking keeps the wheel turning.
That's the implication. It offers a rather cynical but maybe insightful observation. It says, human peaces are not moments of nonviolence, but moments in which the victors legitimize their victorious violence. And the vanquished, on the destructive wings of resentment and revenge, prepare a new cycle of war.
That's bleak, but it sounds historically accurate in many cases.
It often feels that way, doesn't it? And furthermore, the commentary notes that even war is not exempt from anxious quietudes, moments of stillness or reflection amidst the fighting, nor are moments of harmony lacking on the thresholds of death.
So the lines are blurred even in the extreme.
Exactly. There's this constant intermingling, this fluidity that our neat dualistic thinking just fails to grasp. We like our boxes, but reality is much messier, much more blended.
So from the perspective of Ananda then, this profound joy bliss, how does it view this constant, often brutal dance of peace and war that we're caught in? Does it just ignore it or see it differently?
It sees it fundamentally differently. The joy bliss, the beatitude of Ananda, remains indifferent, remember, detached, not apathetic to war and peace. It views them from a hill that no longer belongs to the ego.
A higher vantage point.
Yes. From there, it recognizes that none of these attitudes is exempt from attributes of its opposite. Peace contains seeds of war. War contains moments of quietude. This offers a profound, transcendent perspective that really challenges our usual ego-driven understanding.
So it sees the whole pattern, not just the individual move.
Exactly. From that elevated viewpoint, the labels peace and war lose their rigid definitions. They're both seen as manifestations within a larger cosmic dance, maybe, like looking down at a turbulent river from a high mountain.
You see the rapids, you see the calm stretches.
But from that height, it's all just the same river flowing. It's all part of the same grand movement. So the primary insight here, according to this view, is that true peace isn't the absence of conflict.
It's something else entirely.
It's a state of being that transcends the very categories of conflict and harmony. It sees them as interconnected parts of the ongoing dance of existence, not fundamental opposites to struggle between.
The solar flame, an unbound transformative light.
Okay, moving into the second stanza, the imagery shifts, becomes really captivating, introducing the solar flame. The poem says, there is a solar flame that is ignorant of sadness, impetus that imbues visions of rapture, secular parades of ascending joys, flashes woven with nebulous gems.
Beautiful lines.
They really are. It sounds extraordinary almost, mystical, and definitely intriguing. What exactly is this solar flame? Is it like a literal fire or something symbolic?
It's definitely symbolic. The commentary clarifies it's nothing less than the very form of the universal soul united to the I Am.
The universal soul, united to the I Am. Okay, that's deep.
It is. It's described as this profound inner light, the divine spark within, maybe, connected to the ultimate reality, the I Am. And it's emphasized that this is not an exclusively human impulse, not just something we have.
So it's bigger than just humanity.
Yes. It signifies its transcendental, universal nature. It extends far beyond individual human identity or the limits of what we normally think of as human. It's like a foundational energy permeating everything, not confined to us.
And Muñoz connects this to other traditions too, doesn't he?
He does. He shows its universal resonance. It's described, for instance, as the living flame of love from John of the Cross.
The Spanish mystic.
Right. Who wrote about this intense, purifying, but also tender and nourishing divine love. But it's also linked to something more familiar, maybe. The concept of dawn, which fits the title of the book, Alborada, right? Dawn, daybreak.
Symbolizing new beginnings, light overcoming darkness.
Exactly. A recurring theme. And then for you, the reader, it's explicitly identified as Agni.
The Vedic fire god.
Yes. Embodying, the commentary says, your longing, dear reader, of these lines-seeking distant echoes.
Wow, that's direct.
It is. It's not just pretty poetry. It's framed as a direct call to this deep, inherent spiritual yearning that Muñoz believes is within all of us. A recognition that this solar flame resonates with a universal impulse towards higher consciousness, towards growth, understanding, connection to something larger.
So it's tapping into that part of us that instinctively seeks more.
That seems to be the idea. The key insight here is the solar flame, as this universal inherent divine impulse within us and beyond us, a source of light and love transcending our individual human self.
Okay, but that phrase, ignorant of sadness, that's incredibly striking. It almost sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Doesn't it just pushes sadness away or represses it or feels superior to it? Because let's face it, sadness feels very real in our lives.
Right. And the commentary tackles that immediately. It's not about pushing sadness away or repressing it or feeling superior in some judgmental way. That's not it at all.
So what does ignorant mean here?
Instead, the solar flame, described beautifully as your most intimate and most external flame, so it's both deep within and universal, is ignorant of sadness because it does not know it, nor does it recognize it in the murky moments of the struggle of everyday life.
It doesn't register it.
It seems so. It operates on a different, more fundamental plane of awareness where sadness simply isn't a category. It's not a phenomenon it can perceive.
Okay, that's a subtle but huge difference.
It is, and it leads to this profound distinction the commentary makes. There's the light that sees, and then there's the light we see and distinguish.
The light our eyes see or our minds understand.
Right, the light that serves us to walk among the shadows. The light we perceive is relative. It needs darkness to be defined. But the light that sees, this solar flame, does not know darkness or its forms.
Why not?
Because its flows and movements are raptures, samadhis that exclude concepts and names. Samadhis, these states of deep meditative absorption, profound insight. It implies a direct, non-conceptual, intuitive experience of truth.
Not thinking about it, but just knowing it directly.
Exactly. Pure, unmediated awareness. A state so profound it transcends the need for categories like sadness or darkness. Think of the sun. Does the sun know darkness?
No, it just shines. Darkness is just where the light isn't.
Precisely.
Yeah.
From the perspective of this solar flame, sadness simply isn't part of its reality, the concept that doesn't apply on that level.
Okay. The commentary uses some pretty vivid imagery to help us grasp this.
It really does.
Mm.
Trying to describe this subtle experience from the Trikala perspective, that all-encompassing view of time. It says it's like a redos, one of those ornate altarpieces. A redos, in which there is a still parade of million-hued color. Imagine this exquisite, richly colored screen, perfectly still, yet somehow vibrant with an impossible array of colors.
Still, yet full of movement or potential.
Yes. Or like a dancing river fixed in the depth of the cosmic night. These are paradoxes, aren't they? Stillness and motion, fixedness and dynamism. They evoke something that's simultaneously dynamic and still, existing beyond our usual ways of perceiving things, a reality where opposites merge.
It's stretching the mind.
It is. And it goes further. The fabrics that fiber the canvas are threads of nebulous gems that show us a more mysterious subspace supporting the real.
A subspace. Like a deeper dimension.
That's the feeling. It paints this picture of a multidimensional reality, a deeper, more luminous reality supporting the one we see, accessible through this light. What we perceive as solid and separate is maybe just a surface layer. Underneath, there's something far more complex, more radiant, where even opposites like light and dark, stillness and motion coexist and reveal deeper truths. It's a reality beyond form and concept, experienced as pure awareness.
Wow. Okay. Now, moving into the third stanza, there's this fascinating counterpoint. It shows how this powerful solar flame interacts with us, with our ego. The poem says, "There is a light that is ignorant of the little magician, and if it adopts him, it transforms him into something else, outside of the affection that accepts or rejects, far from tricks, stalkings, and traps, hunting vacuums, praying darknesses, muddied waters, barren riches."
The little magician.
Yeah, our ego gets this playful, almost slightly dismissive name. So what happens when this immense light meets our ego, the little magician? Does it clash? Is it a confrontation? Or is it this transformation the poem talks about?
It seems to be definitely a transformation, but maybe not a confrontation like a battle. The commentary explains that this will, the solar flame, this unmoved motor of unconditional self-affirmation is ignorant of the little magician.
Ignorant again? You can't see the ego either.
It seems not. Because for the light, the commentary says that the ego is nothing more than part of a grotesque and compact masquerade.
Ouch. A masquerade.
Yeah. It implies that from the light's vast, pure perspective, all the ego's complexities, its dramas, its self-important stories, they're seen as, well, maybe irrelevant or even illusory, like watching a child playing dress-up. It's a performance, but you don't mistake the costume for the ultimate reality.
So the light isn't bothered by the ego's games.
Utterly indifferent, it seems. Indifferent to the tricks, stalkings, and traps of what Muñoz calls the survival mind, which is essentially our ego, right? Characterized by its will to power, its constant need to control and define, and its ability, the commentary says, to only distinguish limited forms, tiny paths of inertial desires, confused whims that act as puppets in a shadow theater.
That's quite a description. Puppets in a shadow theater.
It paints this rather poignant, almost pitiful picture, doesn't it? The ego's operations are seen as limited, manipulative, caught in its own self-made dramas. Its concerns so small, so constrained, they just don't register on the vast scale of the solar flame's awareness.
And all that activity, hunting vacuums, praying darknesses, muddied waters, barren riches, sounds exhausting and ultimately pointless from that higher view.
Exactly. Chasing fleeting desires, vacuums, clinging to negativity or fear, darknesses, navigating confusion, muddied waters, seeking things that don't truly satisfy, barren riches. From the perspective of the solar flame, these are just the elaborate, often self-defeating games the little magician plays.
Okay, but then the poem says the light adopts him
Yeah.
and transforms him into something else. So, crucially, the ego isn't just wiped out, obliterated. That feels really significant because in a lot of spiritual paths, the ego is the enemy, right? Something to be killed off.
Exactly. And this is a crucial distinction here, a really profound reframing. When the little magician, the ego, takes form in the compassion of the universe as part of a drama of another kind, that little magician is not destroyed, but integrated into consciousness.
Integrated, not annihilated.
Yes, that's the key. It's not about negation or suppression. Think about sadness again. It's not destroyed either. It's ignored in the same way that we ignore the ego without engaging in negation.
So not fighting it, just letting it be while focusing elsewhere.
Kind of. It's like being so absorbed in beautiful music that the background noise just fades from your awareness. It's still there, maybe, but it has no power. Sadness doesn't need to be actively pushed away from this higher state. It simply loses its grip because it's no longer the focus. It becomes, as the commentary poetically puts it, nothing more than the note of a resonant perfume in the ancestral night.
It just fades into the background.
It loses its oppressive power, yeah. And the ego itself, rather than being an obstacle or an enemy to be slain, it transforms. It becomes an organ of dharma.
An organ of dharma. Dharma meaning.
Universal law, purpose, right action, maybe cosmic order. So the ego becomes a tool for self-reflection, a conscious instrument, rather than a self-serving master pulling the strings.
So it gets a new job description.
You could say that. It becomes a sensory organ that is reused to identify the same chaos and incompleteness of meaning of the small worlds it once tried to control with its narratives.
Wow. So it uses its old skills for a new purpose.
Exactly. It's a profound repurposing. Instead of blindly reacting and trying to control everything based on fear or desire, the ego, now integrated, functions with a higher awareness. It can recognize patterns, understand its own past limitations, see the incompleteness of its old narratives, and serve the greater whole. The old psychological processes, the commentary says, are lovingly collected in a wider sphere.
Lovingly collected, not thrown out.
No. Our past experiences, our personality, our unique traits, they aren't discarded. They're integrated into this more expansive conscious awareness. It suggests a path of profound healing and integration for our ordinary self, rather than annihilation.
We keep the functional parts thinking, planning, but without being trapped by the ego's limitations.
Exactly. Turning it into a servant of a higher purpose, guided by that solar flame. The core insight here is truly transformative. The ego isn't the enemy. It's a powerful instrument that, once seen clearly by and integrated into higher consciousness, becomes a valuable tool for deeper self-understanding and living a more meaningful life.
Conscience is beyond the mind and the supreme pleroma.
Okay, the fourth stanza feels like it takes us even higher, maybe even further out, into realms that are really hard to grasp with our everyday thinking.
It definitely ascends.
It says, "There are hymns of plenitude that the mind cannot reach. Matchless consciousness that breathes the eternal. Lyres of eons craft such a foundation, never-ending lucidity. Its brushstroke, clear magma of beauty."
Wow. Just the language itself is elevating.
It is. Hymns of plenitude the mind cannot reach. What is this mind that's being talked about here? Is it just our brain or something more specific?
The commentary specifies this as the mind manas, and it defines that as the survival mind that binds us to matter.
Ah, the survival mind again, like the ego we were just discussing.
Very closely related, yes. It's that part of us constantly focused on navigating the physical world, ensuring survival, scanning for threats, seeking pleasure, building our identity based on external stuff, jobs, possessions, social status. It's the thinking process whose only tools are the physiological senses, what we see, hear, touch, and the inferences it draws from them to nourish the egoic narrative.
The story we tell ourselves about who we are.
Exactly. And by its very nature, this conventional mind, this manas, cannot completely apprehend the plenitude of the real. It's inherently limited.
Why? Because it's focused on the material.
Partly that, and partly because its whole function is to construct the ego story, to make distinctions, to separate me from not me, this from that. It's a tool designed for survival within the world of form and matter. It's brilliant for, driving a car or planning your finances.
Practical stuff.
Very practical.
Yeah.
But it's just not equipped to grasp concepts of ultimate boundless reality, because its very purpose is to define boundaries, to categorize within the material world. Trying to grasp the infinite plenitude with the mind manas is like, I don't know, trying to measure the whole ocean with a teaspoon.
The tool isn't right for the job.
It's perfect for its own job, but completely inadequate for grasping the vastness of the real, as the commentary calls it.
Okay, so in contrast to this limited mind manas, the poem talks about a matchless consciousness. What is that?
It's described as a consciousness without equal, without a second, without another.
So utterly singular, unique.
Yes, a truly singular, self-referential, eternal consciousness. It's independent of anything external. It doesn't need an opposite to define itself. Its only duality, the commentary fascinatingly states, is that of its own breathing. It's kalpas.
Kalpas, like vast cosmic cycles, eons.
Exactly, like the inhale and exhale of the entire universe itself. Imagine a consciousness so complete, so absolute, that its very existence, its cosmic rhythm, is its only defining feature. A timeless, boundless awareness that simply is.
That's mind-bending.
It really is. And the rhythm and melody of this consciousness, the poem says, are interpreted by the lyres of the eons.
Eons, like eternal beings.
That's the sense. These eons, from their immortal thrones, intone music, music played on their divine lyres. And this cosmic music, it emanates from a supreme pleroma.
Pleroma. What does that mean?
It's described as the ineffable and unknown plenitude. Ineffable meaning indescribable beyond words. It evokes this sense of an ultimate, fundamentally unknowable source of all being, all beauty, the cosmic symphony underlying everything.
Like the ultimate reality from which everything springs.
That's the feeling, like the foundational vibration, the primordial hum of the universe that gives rise to everything we perceive. The pleroma is like this boundless, luminous potentiality, the container of all possibilities from which all reality emerges. But it remains ultimately beyond our full grasp, precisely because it is everything.
Okay, so these eons, these cosmic entities, are playing this incredible music originating from this supreme plenitude. Does that reach us down here in the world of the little magician and the mind manas? Is there any way for us to hear this cosmic symphony, or is it just too far removed?
No, and this is the beautiful part of the vision there, is a connection. There's a bridge. From their harps, the commentary says, comes the subtle substance of a bridge to the human.
A bridge made of what?
Of arcane echoes. And Muñoz explicitly compares it to a Zoroastrian chinvat.
The Chinvat Bridge. Isn't that usually about judgment after death in Zoroastrianism?
Often, yes. But here, it's wonderfully repurposed. It's not about judgment. It's presented as a direct connection to inextinguishable lucidity.
Undying clarity.
Exactly. So it suggests a pathway for humanity to access this higher consciousness. Maybe not a literal bridge you walk across, but perhaps a vibrational link, an energetic connection, an intuitive opening. It means these cosmic harmonies aren't just out there. They resonate within us, too, even if only as faint echoes at first.
We have a receiver for that frequency, maybe?
That's a good way to think about it. And their sonic palette, the range of this cosmic music, is described as a magma of beauty.
Magma.
Yeah.
Like molten, potent, primal beauty.
Incredibly potent, yes. A molten source of aesthetic perfection. And from this profound source, the commentary says, our most demiurgic being paints only inexhaustible beauty and happy airs.
Our demiurgic being,
Yeah.
meaning our creative essence, our ability to create.
Exactly. Our capacity to bring forth beauty, order, meaning. So this implies that our highest creative impulses, those moments of profound inspiration in art, music, writing, even scientific discovery or deep philosophical thought, they aren't solely human inventions conjured from nothing.
We're tapping into something bigger.
They are echoes, reflections, perhaps transmissions from this vast cosmic source, this matchless consciousness. When we create something truly beautiful, something that resonates deeply, we are, in a way, tuning into this infinite reservoir. We're allowing those cosmic harmonies, that magma of beauty, to flow through us and take form in our world.
So our creativity connects us to the pleroma.
That seems to be the suggestion. The core insight here is the existence of this universal boundless consciousness far beyond our limited mind manas. And crucially, our own highest expressions of creativity and beauty are actually echoes of its sublime cosmic symphony, accessible to us through this subtle spiritual bridge of arcane echoes.
The affirming spirit masked in joy, Amalthea.
Okay, so the final stanza. It feels like it brings everything together, beautifully recapitulating and concluding this whole grand vision.
Tying up the threads.
It reads, "A spirit that affirms is masked in joy. Generously it pours it, and with more light it fills it. From its nurturing vision it nourishes the soul of man, a summit Amalthea that never stepped into the valley."
Powerful ending.
It really is. A spirit that affirms is masked in joy. It sounds like this joy we experience, the everyday kind, is just, well, a mask. The tip of the iceberg for something much, much bigger.
That's exactly the idea. In what we commonly call joy, that fleeting emotion, the temporary feeling, something of greater scope is masked. And that something is Ananda.
The true joy bliss.
Yes. For our urgent thinking, our everyday mind, the commentary explains, joy is often seen as nothing more than a fleeting emotion that is opposed to sadness, just one end of the spectrum.
Happy versus sad.
Right. But this is a superficial understanding, a limited view. The true nature of joy, the commentary asserts, is this deeper, inherently affirming spirit. It's not just a passive feeling, it's an active, pervasive force, a fundamental positivity that is the essence of existence. It affirms life, affirms being, affirms creation itself without needing sadness or any opposite to define it.
It just is affirmation.
Exactly. And this affirming spirit, Ananda, pours its nectar into the cup of our soul. This nectar sounds like potent spiritual nourishment.
Food for the soul, literally.
Quite possibly. However, and this is a really crucial point, our soul only becomes permeable to this nurturing light, this lamp of fire, when it is already completely immersed in Ananda.
So you can't just get a little sip. You have to dive in completely.
It suggests a state of total absorption, or saturation. You need to be fully receptive, fully immersed to truly receive and integrate this profound light. It's not something you can just dabble in or pick up bit by bit. It requires a kind of surrender, maybe, a willingness to be fully enveloped by it.
Like trying to fill a leaky cup. The soul needs to become whole, receptive to hold this light.
That's a good analogy. And when the soul is completely immersed, this light fills our gaze with immemorial splendors. It opens our inner sight to timeless glories, ancient understandings, and it provides a generous and unifying authority that nourishes without dominating.
Nourishes without dominating. That's key.
It really is. This higher form of nourishment isn't about control or external power forcing itself upon you. It's about an empowering, internal, unifying force that truly feeds the soul from within. It expands your capacity for experience, for understanding, connecting you to everything. It doesn't dictate, it empowers, it helps you be more fully.
Okay. And finally, we encounter this really evocative figure, Summit Amalthea, who is Amalthea. And what does she represent here at the very end? It sounds like a powerful archetype.
Yes, Amalthea is a figure from Greek mythology, often depicted as a goat, sometimes a nymph, who nursed the infant Zeus. She's associated with nourishment, abundance, divine care. So here, the divine nurse is evoked in Amalthea. She represents the superior vision that feeds the soul of men.
The ultimate source of spiritual nourishment.
Exactly. But critically, the poem says she accomplishes this without ever descending to the valleys.
She stays on the summit. Why is that significant?
It's more than just a poetic image. It carries profound philosophical weight. Why doesn't she descend? Because, the commentary explains with stunning clarity, in its breadth of reality, there are no low basins.
Wait, from her perspective, valleys don't exist.
That's the implication. From the perspective of this ultimate reality, this supreme pleroma, the very concept of low or valley simply doesn't apply. It's not that Amalthea chooses not to go down. It's that from her vantage point, from the state of Ananda, there is no down to go to.
Oh, okay.
Instead, the summits sparkle imperturbably, covering the universe. This gives us this final, all-encompassing vision, a reality where the highest states aren't just peaks within a landscape that also includes lows. No, the summits are the landscape. They are the pervasive, foundational reality that is everything.
So from the perspective of Ananda, the whole universe is already at the summit.
In essence, yes. It suggests that from that ultimate joy bliss, the entire universe is a sparkling summit, forever bathed in that affirming light. There's no true separation, no fundamental duality between high and low, peace and conflict, sadness and joy. It's a complete, integrated, perpetually elevated state of being.
A reality where, if you could truly see it, you'd realize the lows we experience are maybe just illusions of our limited perspective.
And the whole of existence is actually this single, radiant peak of joy. That seems to be the ultimate vision offered here.
Outro. Wow. We have certainly taken an incredible journey today, really moving far beyond our everyday ideas about joy and emotion.
It's been quite a climb.
It really has. We started by looking at the limits of our usual emotional experience, didn't we? Then we ventured into this profound concept of Ananda, not just a feeling, but a superior ontological state, a whole different way of being.
Transcending mere feeling.
Exactly. We witnessed the power of this non-dual force that embraces opposites, seeing unity where we usually see conflict, peace, and battle held together. Then we discovered the transformative power of the solar flame, that universal light within, which doesn't destroy the ego, the little magician.
It integrates it.
Right. Shifting it from being caught in its dramas to becoming an organ of dharma, a tool for purpose and self-reflection. We touched upon a matchless consciousness, way beyond our everyday mind, hearing faint echoes of its cosmic music from the aeons and the pleroma, that ultimate source.
The magma of beauty.
Yes. And finally, we recognize that what we often call joy might just be a mask for a deeper, affirming universal spirit embodied by that summit, Amalthea, who perpetually nourishes the soul from a realm where, fundamentally, only heights exist.
It's a lot to take in. And this deep dive, it's really not just a philosophical exercise, is it? It feels like an invitation. An invitation to consider a radically different way of experiencing reality. Well, it challenges us, doesn't it? To consider that maybe true well-being, profound peace might lie beyond the fleeting emotions we're always chasing or trying to avoid, beyond that endless cycle of happy, sad, gain-loss.
Looking for something more stable.
Exactly. It prompts us to look for a deeper source of peace, one that genuinely transcends the duality of conflict and harmony that seems to dominate so much of our lives and the world around us. And I think powerfully it offers this different vision of our own ego.
Not the enemy.
Not the enemy to be battled or extinguished, which is such a common idea, but as something that can be lovingly integrated, understood, and repurposed within a wider, more conscious sphere of our being. Just that shift in perspective about the ego, that alone could be profoundly liberating, couldn't it? Turning that inner struggle into a path for growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if, as the poem and commentary suggests, the highest form of joy, this summit Amalthea, never stepped into the valley, because from its perspective, there are no low basins. What does that mean for us? What steps could we even take to begin shifting our perspective towards that kind of understanding?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How can we glimpse or maybe even start to inhabit those summits in our own lives, especially when our daily experience often feels so full of ups and downs, valleys of peaks? How might we recognize and engage with that solar flame within us, allow it maybe to transform our own little magician, integrating rather than fighting our flaws or limitations? And what does it truly mean to live with that inextinguishable lucidity, that clear seeing, in a world that so often feels filled with shadows, confusion, and conflict?
Yeah.
This deep dive into Poema 3 de Alborada, it really feels like it just opens the door, doesn't it? It's just the beginning of perhaps your own ongoing exploration into these profound questions.